No more time in today, the sun is fading away, and I'm left feeling cray-cray. I need to make a change, it's time to rearrange.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Art of Stress-Free Productivity. Today we're going to talk about the next step in the process, do. So quick refresher, there's 4 steps to stress-free productivity: collect, process, plan, do. Today we're going to talk about the final step, do. All right, so we've done everything leading up to this. We've collected everything, we've processed everything, everything's been defined and put in its proper place. We've done our weekly planning. So let's say it's first thing Monday morning. I've got my calendar in hand. I've got my dashboard in hand. And the next question really is, what is my context? Where am I? How much time do I have? How much energy do I have? So let's go ahead and jump to this view. So this is what my calendar might look like first thing Monday morning. So a couple things about the calendar before we get into how I start getting stuff done or doing, so to speak. One thing I want to point out, it's really important to develop a habit around defending my calendar. So I only put stuff in my calendar that has to be done at a particular time. And I don't put things in here that are, optional. This is just appointments. This is just meetings. And I'm shooting to try and create a situation where I don't have more than 50% of any day scheduled for must-do appointment and meeting commitments. Sometimes that's hard to pull off, but I work really hard to do that. I try to group things as best I can. So if I have to have some offsite meetings, I try to group those and do multiple offsite meetings. If I have kind of recurring meetings, if I can group them in certain times during certain days. So I'm trying to maximize the amount of white space on my calendar as best I can. I'm also pretty hawkish about when I'll actually do a meeting. So if I have a request to be a part of a meeting, I'll think through, is this the best way to do this? Could we do this through email? Is it necessary? Is there a clear agenda? Is this adding value to my priorities? And I also try to honor that when I'm inviting people to attend meetings as well. So this is what my calendar might look like on a good week. Got a lot of white space to work with. So let's say it's first thing Monday morning. This is kind of an example of what a day might look like and how it might play out for me. So first thing I do is my miracle morning. So this might be one of the most important things that I mention. A good friend and author, Hal Elrod, wrote an amazing book called The Miracle Morning. I start my day every day doing the miracle morning. I'm not going to get into the details about that, but I would highly recommend you check out the book. But it gives me an opportunity to sort of win the day, if you will. I get up on my own terms, make an investment in my personal growth, and start the day off on the right foot. So when I'm done with my miracle morning, I've got a block of time here from about 6 to 9 where it's early in the day. I got lots of energy. So the first thing I'm going to do is go right to my dashboard and work on my number one rock. And in this case, I might get a solid 2 hours of uninterrupted time really focused on the rocks. So this is definitely going to be a time where the odds are I'm going to be in a state of flow, really focused on the task at hand and being highly productive in getting that work done. After that, I'm going to likely head to the office. I've got a meeting in the office, and I'm going to time that where I know I've got a morning recurring meeting every morning at 9:05 where we do a huddle. And so this is where I incorporate some net time. So NET time, no extra time. So in this case, I'm going to be driving, and I'll often do the huddle while I'm driving so I can combine my commute with a meeting so that I'm kind of taking advantage of that time block when otherwise it might be wasted when I'm just driving. So once I get to the office, I've got a couple of meetings that are on my calendar. I'm going to take those And then it's about 10:30 or so in the morning. So this is a good time for me to process. So this is the first time that I've gotten into my email. So during the morning session when I was working on the rock, I'm not checking email, I'm not checking voicemail, I'm not looking at text messages. I'm just totally focused on what it is that I'm doing. And now I'm going to process. So I'm going to get into my inbox. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to process everything that's in my inbox. In this case, I probably will spend about a half an hour or so. Of course, if I'm going to go through the whole process, thought decision tree that we talked about in the earlier segment, and clear out that inbox, and very likely going to end up with an empty inbox, which feels absolutely great. Then I've got another big chunk of time. It's still relatively early in the day. I'm going to jump right back into possibly finishing my number one rock or working on the next rock, depending on where I'm at with that. And then it's mid-afternoon. I'm going to process one more time. Then towards the end of the day, my energy is a little bit lower. At this point, I'm going to get into my next action folders, maybe knock a few of my computer work next actions off. And this is also a time where if I haven't gotten to my most important task for the day, which we talked about in the plan section, I'll go ahead and take care of the most important task for the day and then wrap my day up. So moving ahead, if we look at the rest of the week, what might that look like? So Tuesday, probably something along these lines. So I had a chunk of time in the morning. I got a couple times during the day to process. I had a few more meetings that day. I might slip in the most important task kind of midday. Wednesday, start with the miracle morning. I've got an early meeting, so I don't have time to really work on a rock. So I might do some early processing that day. Work on my most important task, have a couple of quick meetings in the office. Then I've got a chunk of time in the morning, work on my rock, another meeting, then get into my next action folders and maybe process towards the end of the day. Thursday might look like that. Friday, I'm going to do my plan and put my results dashboard together again so that I'm ready for the next week. I've got quite a few meetings on that day, so I've got a little bit of time to process in the morning. I've done pretty well with the rocks during the week, probably knocked the number one, number two, maybe even got into the third one. Process a couple times on Friday, finish the day working on the most important task and a chunk of next action items. And so at the end of this week, I've knocked out a lot of the most important tasks. I've put a big dent in my rocks. I've gotten into my next action folders. I've stayed up on top of my processing all week, and I've got my dashboard ready for the following week. I'm going to be feeling great. I know for a fact because this is what I do, and when I stick to this process, it absolutely works fantastic. And that's really a key thing that I'll point out, that the system works when you work it. You've got to really stay consistent with a similar routine like this. If I'm not processing and my inbox starts to pile up, or I'm not doing my weekly review, very quickly I can start generating a lot of stuff in my life again. So anyway, that's the do process. Thank you again for joining me, and we'll see you in the final segment.
What am I great